One possible reason that can be given for the Vayalinu alav referring to Moshe Rabbeinu rather than having the provocation targeting HaKadosh Baruch Hu is that it reflects information contained at the beginning of this perek, where after the heated debate between the Meraglim and Kalev, which set off a panic within the camp, we are told that Vayalinu al Moshe v'Aharon kol b'nei Yisrael. The subject here is kol b'nei Yisrael. Vayalinu. They complained, they agitated, and their agitation was directed towards Moshe and Aharon. The inclusion of Aharon is somewhat strange, as up until now, throughout the entire episode, he had been out of the picture. But that is a different matter. Because the Pasuk identifies Moshe as the target of their complaints, it could be argued that when the narrator informs us of the immediate consequences to the Meraglim, and as Moshe, rather than HaKadosh Baruch Hu, was the target of the original complaints of the nation, the wording here is Vayalinu alav, referring to Moshe Rabbeinu. The Rebbe dismisses this line of thinking on two counts. The first is the use of the singular alav upon him or against him. In the original complaint, the object was both Moshe and Aharon. And therefore, if we are to argue that Bamidbar 14:36 reflects the information in Pasuk 2, then the plural format should have been used. V'yashuvu, they returned, and Vayalinu aleihem, complained, agitated against them referring to Moshe and Aharon. And because of this agitation, the Meraglim were punished immediately. A second problem is that Pasuk 36 reflects information presented by the narrator. Given the fact that there were two stakeholders in this complaint, originally Moshe Rabbeinu and Aharon, which then morphed into a complaint against God, given the two complaints, the narrator should have emphasized the more serious of the complaints, justifying the immediate punishment of the Meraglim, that on account of the provocation of the 10 Meraglim, there was a rebellion against HaKadosh Baruch Hu by the people. It will be the contention of the Rebbe in the SICHAH that Rashi, in his commentary to 1436, addresses these two issues. And according to the rule that headings must match the commentary, a problem that had been raised previously, that much of the information contained in this lengthy Rashi, such as the definition of the word dibah, has very little to do with the heading. In the heading Vayashuvu Vayalinu alav, the Rebbe maintains that Rashi is forewarning these two issues. Vayashuvu, in which he intends to address the fact that the entire pasuk adds nothing to the narrative and is therefore superfluous, and two, assuming that one can justify the inclusion of the pasuk into the narrative, then we have the second problem, the Vayalinu alav, singular, referring to Moshe Rabbeinu as the target and the reason for the immediate punishment of the Meraglim, where the narrator should have emphasized the more serious outcome, that they provoked the people to rebel against HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And the Rebbe now proceeds to elaborate and explain how Rashi addresses these two issues.